Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for our August SCN stakeholder meeting. For those of you who don't know, my name is Amira, and I'm the Community Engagement Specialist here at Care Compass. Before we get started, I want to go over a few housekeeping items. Today's meeting is being recorded and will be uploaded to our website at a later date. We encourage you to turn on your cameras and participate in today's meeting, but please feel free to utilize the chat box or the raise your hand feature if you have any questions. The team will be monitoring the chats throughout the meeting. The closed caption feature has been turned on, and if you'd like to use it, you can click the CC Live Transcript option on your toolbar. And additionally, if you have any technical difficulties, please send a message directly to Emily Davies or one of the SCN team members, and we can help you troubleshoot. So today's agenda has been made, a few updates to today's agenda. As usual, we'll be starting off with our provider spotlights, and we're joined by Jaden Buckingham with Children's Home Wyoming Conference, Sana Wakefield from Glory Shines, and Dr. Genevieve Hoyt from Cozy Mental Health will be sharing about their organizations. And before I hand it over to Lauren for our SCN team updates, waiver extension, and SCN performance updates, we do have a brief poll. We want your feedback on our stakeholder meeting structure. But more to come on that shortly, and I am going to now kick it off. Turn it over to Jaden with Children's Home to kick it off for us. So Jaden, just let me know when you want me to move slides.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone, for your time. Do I sound all right here?
Yep, sounds good.
Perfect. All right. Hello, everyone. I'll be introducing and expanding on what we do here at the Children's Home. I'm joined here by Kate Harvey, Vice President of Strategic Initiatives here at the Children's Home. My name is Jaden Buckingham, Social Care Network Supervisor for the Children's Home, where we're contracted for screening and navigation for the Southern Tier, specifically Broome, Tioga, Tompkins, and Shenango. You may go to the next slide. So here, what started in 1912 when the women of the Methodist Episcopal Church opened a home for women and children in Binghamton, has now grown into a multi-county organization serving thousands of children, youth, and families today. The reach has expanded, and so has the breadth of our programs offered. We believe that families are the foundation of healthy communities, and that children do best when the people around them, parents, caregivers, teachers, mentors, and neighbors, are supported as well. Our work spans behavioral and mental health services, foster care and adoption, residential care, education, prevention, and community-based programs. The settings vary. The through line is the same: relationships, skill building, and hope that turns into action. We do this work with compassion, creativity, and consistency, 3 values that should show up in every home visit, every classroom, difficult conversation, in every moment when a child realizes that someone in their corner is there for the long haul. You may go to the next slide. The Children's Home is a family and child serving agency assisting communities within Broome County and throughout central New York. For over 100 years, the Children's Home has been dedicated to helping youth overcome homelessness, trauma, and adversity. Today, our philosophy emphasizes the importance of permanency, keeping children connected to their families and communities. Our mission is to partner with children, families, and communities to inspire hope, develop skills, and cultivate healthy relationships for positive futures. Our vision is to envision a collaborative, caring community where children and families lead happy, healthy, and fulfilling lives. You may go to the next slide. The list here is a list of counties involved in the Children's Home. We have comprehensive services spanning from the Finger Lakes, the Southern Tier, and closer to the Apple through Sullivan and what isn't listed here, Ulster County. In our next slide, we're going to begin discussing programs and where you might find them. The Children's Home provides a wide variety of residential, home-based, and community-based programs designed to address the needs of vulnerable children and their families while supporting their long-term progress. Programs and services delivered by the Children's Home are obtained exclusively through referrals. We aim to provide support and care at every stage of a family's journey. You may go to the next slide. From prevention and early intervention to crisis stabilization and long-term recovery. Chelsea's comprehensive behavioral and mental health services provide a continuum of evidence-based, person-centered care for children, youth, and adults with complex behavioral and/or mental health needs. Through an array of community-based programs, including intensive team-based models, the Children's Home delivers individualized services to promote stability, strengthen families, and improve overall well-being. Services are provided in home and community settings wherever possible, ensuring accessibility, reducing barriers to clinical care, and providing clients through all stages of need. Some of Chelsea's behavioral and mental health services may include 29I, our assertive community treatment, youth assertive community treatment, also known as Youth Act, Child and Family Treatment Support Services, or CAFTAS, Critical Time Transition Program, Health Homes Care Management, and Home-Based Crisis Intervention. You may go to the next slide. When living at home isn't possible, Chelsea Residential Services offer safe, supervised living environments for children and youth ages 5 to 21, offered both in community-based settings and on our main campus. These services ensure children receive the individualized care that they may need in nurturing, supportive settings. Chelsea's community-based residential services include community-based group homes and the supervised independent living program. Rather than being placed in large institutions or hospitals, youth stay in home-like residences under the direct care of highly trained professionals who help youth build skills, achieve success, remain connected to school, family, and community activities. Chelsea's campus-based residential services include QRTP Diagnostic Center, QRTP Raise the Age, and non-secure detention. You may go to the next slide. So here are the educational and after-school programs and services. Chelsea's educational programs help youth stay actively engaged, motivated, and connected to learning and advancing their academic careers. Through hands-on support, education-based enrichment, and hands-on learning, our team creates endless learning opportunities for youth to build confidence, strengthen skills, and experience success both in and out of the classroom. Chelsea proudly offers day treatment, day school, and residential education care. We also have after-school programs that provide a safe and supportive space where children and families can grow, connect, and thrive. Through a blend of therapeutic support, skill-building activities, and meaningful engagement, we meet youth where they are, helping them build confidence, strengthen relationships, and succeed at home, in school, and in their communities through the Family Support Program and the Therapeutic After-School Program, FSP and TASP, respectively. A division of the Children's Home, the Southern Tier Community Center located in Endicott, New York, provides Broome County children, adolescents, and their families with a rich community hub of before and after-school programs, services, and resources. It also serves as a public fitness center through purchased memberships, offering them access to strength conditioning, pool, and several fitness classes. These programs include Boost, building opportunities outside of school time, Learning and Enrichment After School Program Supports, or LEAPS, and School Age Childcare, SACC. If you would like more information on the STCC, please visit thestcc.org. You may go to the next slide. Chelsea's youth mentoring programs are designed to address truancy and reduce at-risk behaviors by promoting intensive, strength-based, and trauma-informed support to children and youth. In partnership with, we have Youth Empowerment and Support, the YES program. We have a division of the YES program aimed at juvenile justice. We also have a vocational program, and in partnership with Jenny Almanzar, we also provide cognitive behavioral therapy for youth with sexual behavior problems. In a preventative capacity, Our flexible program model is designed to meet the unique needs of each client and community we serve. In counties across New York State, Chelsea partners with local departments of social services. We may go to the next slide. Yes. Um, with local Department of Social Services and community-based organizations to deliver culturally competent, trauma-informed, family-centered, and evidence-based care. We have specialized services under several different partnerships, such as the Adventure-Based Learning Experience, Equine Therapy in partnership with Fagioli Farms, Song Factory, this is therapeutic music program in partnership with James Glasgow, Vocational program, this is a supportive youth employment, and a wilderness adventure program. Again, everyone, thank you very much for your time in highlighting Chelsea's comprehensive care across several counties in New York State. Kate and I will hold questions or space for questions now. We also have the address for our main campus located below and the contact information for our CEO.
Thank you, Jaden. Does anybody have any questions? I did drop the website link into the chat.
So I
Thank you
also
so
see
much.
some of our staff is here as well. Thank you for attending.
Thank you, Jaden. Next up is Sana. Sana, I know I saw you.
Good morning or afternoon. Good afternoon. So we have Glory Shines Foundation. Glory Shines is we're a grassroots nonprofit dedicated to meeting people where they are. We provide food, essential resources, community outreach, wellness empowerment opportunities, and direct support to individuals and families experiencing hardship throughout Broome County. So that I know that's very broad. We do multiple things, but mainly really just trying to meet people where they are is the most important thing that we do and how we do it. Next slide, please. Yes, so services provided to support the social care network. We're doing medically tailored and clinically appropriate food prescription boxes throughout Broome County. And we are also doing pantry boxes throughout Broome County as well. Next slide, please. So please refer us. We're taking referrals. Yes, so send it our way. We are accepting referrals. Yes, next slide, please. The other services that we offer generally while we're meeting people where they are. Next slide. I try to put it all in one because, like I said, we do so many things. Family support services and children, youth for children, youth, and families. The first picture you see is at the night's end before the fire happens. We were given shirts and food. We do grocery giveaways, so we were doing shirts and giving out food and snacks to kids there. And we realized all the kids had on an Avatar shirt, and we're like, oh, let's get everyone in the picture. So even simple stuff like that when it comes to supporting families, we do that. We also do. We provide food and essential items to families in the shelters and just across more marginalized communities. So we'll do big grocery giveaways at like Saratoga Apartments, Carlisle Apartments. Sometimes we'll go not too far from ACBC, across the street from the bus station. We have a pantry box in memory of Peter Benedem. We also do nutritious hot meals. We cook out of the Tabernacle Church on Main Street. Um, all these meals, I mean, people can walk in and dine in and eat, but then we also cook meals to deliver to the hotel shelters. So we do that every week, every Wednesday. And then we do have the blessing boxes where we try to implement a culture where take as you need, and like a unlearning of scarcity mindset type of thing. So we do have these blessing boxes that we put around town. Um, Generally, the hotel shelter specifically, but this one is a picture of across the street from the bus station, in memory of Peter Benedem, a homeless man that passed away. Then we also do pantry box deliveries to families in a hotel shelter. They can also sign up and we'll deliver every other Tuesday to families in the shelters. We also do community events where we build connections through like fun events and resources. We do like bowling night. We'll have barbecues at the hotel shelters. If we put a new blessing box there, we'll do like a blessing box release party, things of that nature. We also do back to school support as much as possible as we can. That year for this flyer, we did sneakers. We collaborated with Dick's, and we were able to get children in the hotel shelters shoes and book bags. And then we do like to focus on wellness and self care. So we'll do stuff like nail salon day for women that are in shelters. Um, we we had a spirit event, the spirit within, where it was just talking about like empowerment and trying to move out of negative energy and looking on the brighter side of life and things of that nature. So we encompass a lot of things. We mainly food, but we do also try to incorporate wellness and creating spaces of joy. That's just really important. We feel when dealing with marginalized communities, just being able to get outside, even if it's just to get your nails done, or if we're having a barbecue and we have Chuck E. Cheese come and ride a bike around. Well, we do a mac and cheese event at the shelter. So we do things like that. So it's really broad. It's really innovative. So whatever we think, and it's also based off of the people that work, the volunteers, because a lot of our volunteers are people that are in the shelter. So it's what they need as well, and what we feel is lacking, and what we would want to do with our children, our families, and trying to create those spaces and make it accessible for people who can't access those type of resources and create those type of spaces. Next slide, please. This is a new initiative that we just started doing. Actually, it's encampment outreach. Um, we've come to know a lot of people that actually live out in outside on the streets. They're not just in shelters; they are living in tents. And a couple of our volunteers are people who actually live in encampments. So we try to meet people where they are. The most important thing that we're doing right now is trash when it comes to the encampments. So we get like these liquid barrels and we cut the tops off because they're heavy. And well, the barrels usually hold liquid in it. We cut them off the tops, put bags in them, and we pick up trash every week from about 5 major encampments. And we also do provide food, water, hygiene products, other essentials to people experiencing homelessness outside in their tents. Um, it's really important that we build a relationship with them. And Glory Shine's mission is really to focus on those that fall in the cracks of the cracks. Um, there's so many gaps that we all try to fill. There's so many gaps that we can only put band-aids on, and um, we want to get the people that miss the band-aids. So this encampment outreach is really important. We have a good amount of volunteers. Like I said, there's a few people that volunteer with us that live in the encampment, so they keep us up to date. We can know what they need. We've built a really good relationship and rapport where people will trust us to let us know where they're sleeping outside. And we want to try to keep it as clean and safe for them as possible. And trash is a major thing. So we've been working on trying to stable people's living conditions as best as possible and meeting them where they are. Next slide. So yes, if you want to contact us, you can send us an email at gloryshines888@gloryshines.org. We take a variety of donations for the multiple things we do, especially if you have contractor bags for our outreach. But yes, thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity, and thank you for allowing us to express what we do and share space with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Sana. I did
You're
drop the email in the chat for people.
Okay.
Are there any questions? Thank you again, Sana. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Next up, Dr. Jen Hoyt is here to talk about her organization. So I'm going to turn it over to you.
Hey, hi, good morning, everyone. Okay, so I am here from Cozy Mental Health Counseling. What we're working on is I want to introduce you all to who we are and exactly what we do. So from referral to care team, you make the connection. Together, we surround the member with care. Next slide. Okay, so first we're going to meet Cozy Mental Health Counseling. Then we're going to talk about the gap that we solve. We're going to our Cozy Care model. We'll talk about us being more than a therapy referral and how you can refer members. Next slide, please. Okay, so Cozy Mental Health Counseling is a virtual, whole person centered behavioral health practice providing warm, accessible, results focused mental and behavioral health care throughout the entire state of New York. We accept most major insurance plans, including Medicaid and Medicare. We provide therapy, access to medication management, chronic disease support, and coordinated care. Our approach combines rapid symptom reduction with collaborative, individualized treatment designed to support mental health and overall wellness. We typically treat patients experiencing depression, anxiety, trauma, PTSD, ADHD, overwhelm, burnout, stress, postpartum, grief, chronic disease, chronic pain, and many more. Next slide, please. Okay, so the gap we solve. We fill in the blanks and we attempt to end barriers to care. So the gaps that we typically fill are long behavioral health wait lists, anxiety and depression interfering with social care goals, care managers spending time searching for behavioral health resources or feeling unable to help a member when they do identify a mental or behavioral health need, members disengaging when care feels complicated, fragmented, or overwhelming, members who are frustrated, irritable, unmotivated, have difficulty emotionally coping, which places strain and burnout on the social support team. We believe that the work that the social support team that they do is invaluable, so they shouldn't have to struggle to find behavioral health support for members. Next slide, please. Okay, so our Cozy Care model. Rapid access plus symptom reduction plus whole person centered care. At Cozy, once referred, our patients have access to receiving appointments within 72 hours. We specialize in rapid symptom reduction using our unique approach to care. At Cozy, we combine individualized and collaborative care, evidence-based psychotherapy, treatment planning, patient autonomy, psychoeducation, medication management when needed, nutrition, hydration, supplement education for mental wellness, sleep, stress support, and coordination with other health providers when appropriate. Access to specialized mental health tools such as our anxiety relief products and depression reduction devices at no charge. Crisis intervention and constant ongoing, readily accessible emotional support. Next slide, please. Okay, so Cozy is more than just a therapy referral. At Cozy, a referral to Cozy opens the door to a connected care experience. We look beyond symptoms to understand the entire person. We combine individualized treatment planning, medication management, natural alternatives, chronic disease support, wellness education, care coordination, and seamless referrals to additional providers when needed. We turn one referral into a team of support, a wellness hug surrounding the member. Next slide, please. Okay, so just to get a better understanding of how COSI works, this is our hypothetical. This is your hypothetical member and our patient. Her name is Leah. So Care Compass, for example, Leah experienced food insecurity and difficulty maintaining healthy meals for herself and her children. As a result, she became anxious, stressed, depressed. Her care manager connected her with nutrition and food support while identifying that there is a need for behavioral health intervention. That's where COSI mental health counseling comes in. So while the care manager stabilized an important social need, COSI addressed the anxiety, depression, medication needs, coping skills, overwhelm, and chronic behaviors affecting Leah's overall health. What that then leads to is Leah now starts to thrive instead of just survive, and she receives care from all different angles, which improves outcomes overall. Next slide, please. Okay, so how to refer members. Referring members to COSI Mental Health Counseling is very easy. It can be done by phone or by email. By phone, our phone number is 516-444-5622. By email, it is therapy@cosimentalhealthcounseling.com. The way that you would refer a patient would be to just provide us either by phone or email the patient's full name, the patient's contact information, what type of insurance they have, and a brief description of the concern. Our website for further information is www.cosimhc.com. Thank you, everyone, for your time, and thank you for this opportunity to introduce COSI Mental Health Counseling.
Thank you. I did drop the email and the phone number into the chat for everybody. Thank you. Are there any questions? Oh, there's a question in the chat. Does COSI accept New York's? Yep, sorry, go ahead.
Okay, yes, we do. We are all virtual, and we do accept Medicaid, Medicare, and most major insurances.
Thank you. I am going to turn it over at this point to Lauren to take over with staffing update.
Hi, everyone. Happy Thursday. There is approximately 1.5 days standing between us and the weekend. For those of you who might not know me, I'm Lauren Greco. I'm the social care network director here at Care Compass, and there's some insight into how my week has gone. I'm just going to kick us off with a few staffing updates. I do want to talk about the waiver renewal timeline. I know that's on everyone's mind right now. And then I have some data insights to share, but I want to try to make some of these discussions a little bit more interactive and get a little feedback from all of you as we work through the time we have together today. So you'll notice that it's a little bit more simplified than maybe it has been in the past, but I think that's intentional and will really help us for future planning. So thanks in advance for your participation. We can go to the next slide, Amira. So we haven't done this all the time in the past, but I've been committed to bringing these updates to you because we do have so many things moving here from a social care network standpoint internally at Care Compass. We have had a lot of movement and promotions and new positions open. And so just to try to give everybody a really good, comfortable feel for who's doing what and where, just wanted to kind of highlight this. So recently we announced promotions for both Desiree Humphrey as the Network Performance Specialist for Housing and Nathan Marble as the Network Performance Specialist for Screening. They both are off to the races, if you will, in terms of serving in those positions, but I do have those highlighted here just to make sure everybody is well aware of that. We did welcome Kendall as a social care navigator. Kendall came on with us, I think it's been about 6 weeks, maybe, Kendall. I know it feels like 20 years at this point, probably, but Kendall is also working toward starting with her own caseload and is been completely integrated and wonderful with our team. Most recently, Sue West joined us just on August 10th. This is a new position we've been talking about for a while. Sue, there's no one happier to have Sue here than me. She will be leading our member experience survey, and so she's our member satisfaction specialist. We'll have a lot more coming up on the member experience survey. I know we haven't brought that to you in a while, but Sue will really be managing that aspect of performance. So really looking at those survey results that we have through Qualtrics, helping to really initiate and charter a task force to help review those results and build those workflows out. And we'll just have a zillion other things that I am so excited to have her integrated into the performance piece of things. So welcome to Sue. This is her first stakeholder meeting. We can go, actually stay right here for 1 second. So the other things I want to call out here, we do have a vacancy for a network support specialist. We are in final interviews for that position. We also are in final interviews for 2 social care coordinator positions that will support a lot of the external screening activity and making sure that those screenings get connected to the next point in the workflow so those members can get their needs met. And then we do have another social care navigator position, which is also in final interviews. So by the time we meet in September, my hope and plan is to have a fully staffed and functional team, and that will just be really exciting. So just so you know, these are kind of this is where we're at. Certainly, if you have any questions as far as who's where or you need support, there's no wrong door. We can all help connect you where you need to go, but I did want to bring that to you. And we can go to the next slide. So I brought this to our stakeholder meeting in June. Just a reminder, aside from our direct department, if you will, there are many others throughout the Care Compass enterprise who are helping support this. Kaylin came in more recently. I don't think we announced that, but welcome to Kaylin as one of our billing specialists. There are a number of people that aren't reflected here, and I'm running out of room for people on our slide, but I did want to call out specifically Emily Davies, who's here with us today as our learning and development specialist, has been really instrumental to our group and needs to be added to this slide. Kate Pritchard joined us as the Director of Community Engagement and will be really helpful in helping us to really just continue to promote and the social care network. And so there's so many people that make things possible, but just to kind of keep that front of mind in terms of contacts and what it looks like here for you at Care Compass in terms of support. And we can go to the next slide. All right, thank you. So we've seen this slide a few times, but I do want to keep it front of mind just in terms of where we're at in terms of the waiver renewal timeline. We are, still in that public comment period for New York State. So if you will recall, and you can see on this slide, there actually are 2 distinct public comment periods. The state public comment period wraps up this Friday. I know a lot of you have shared that you've already submitted public comment feedback. Some of you have shared what you've submitted to us, and I really appreciate that. And kind of the messaging here is, yes, Care Compass has obviously a strategy and is submitting public comment, but it's so powerful to have those comments submitted by you as providers and really who are integrated in all the work that we're doing. Really highlighting those member impact stories and that qualitative data, so we can really pull that out and highlight to CMS will really be powerful in that, final application. That final application is due to CMS from New York State as of September 30th. And then shortly thereafter, we don't have the dates for that yet, but in the October to November timeframe, we'll start the federal comment period. And then following that, we should have some updates. We don't expect to have a lot of additional updates, either from New York State or CMS while those public comment periods are still going on and until that final application is submitted. However, we are working on a communication strategy and we'll be, of course, delivering any updates that we get. Unfortunately, we get the information about the same time as it's released to the public. And so, as you know, we are committed to transparency and getting that to you, and we will do so just in the fastest that we can. But we can go to the next slide, Amira. All right, this is just your reminder again to please submit your public comments if you have not done so already. Your voice does matter. We did send out a toolkit on August 3rd. I resent that again just yesterday, if I recall correctly. This toolkit really just has the basics of, what should I include in my submission? It doesn't have to follow that exactly, but it's meant to be a guideline for you. So just really pulling out who you are, what services you've provided under the waiver to date, how that's impacted your organization. Remember, we have provided now 2 scorecards for you. If you're doing work with the SCN, and you can use that data to inform your submissions. And there is a letter template in there as well. With that being said, if you have any questions between now and the deadline on Friday, or you feel like you need support or a second set of eyes, please don't hesitate to reach out. We'd be happy to support you in whatever way we can. Or if for some reason you haven't gotten that email, please drop your email in the chat and I will make sure that I send that to you right after our presentation today. All right, we can go to the next slide, Amira. All right, again, just pulling out a few key dates here. The next thing to really look at, or look for rather, after this week's public comment deadline is just that final proposal submitted to CMS. Again, that's due on September 30th. And then we will, again, communicate any changes or updates to this timeline as they occur. One thing that I did want to bring to the group is that we are, I mentioned we're working on a communication strategy, and what that looks like so far is kind of an executive summary that would be sent out likely on a bi-weekly or a monthly basis to each of the leaders, in the organizations in our network to just share any pertinent updates, insights, links, and things like that. But as we build that out, I wanted to get some feedback from this group just as far as, what would be most helpful to you as we work through this waiver renewal period. So I'll pause there and just see if there's any questions, discussion points, or thoughts that we want to share. Whatever I give you, you'll take, is what that's saying. Okay. If there are things that you think of, I believe all of you have my email address. If there are things that you want to talk through, if there is feedback that you need, ways that we can communicate what we can communicate, can please consider this an open invitation to be able to do that. Okay. All right, we can move on to the next slide, Amira. All right, so just kind of diving back into some of the data. As you will recall, the last time we saw this slide was back in June when we were together. We do have about 85 network providers. Brooke will have to keep me honest, but I believe it's about 89 at this point. And all of these agencies work together to be able to provide the continuity of services that we need to be able to do for our members, and that's amazing. As of just last week, the members screened or engaged in screening rather is over 28,000 members. Now, when we say engaged in screening, the distinction there is that also includes members who were offered a screening, but may have declined the screening. And so that's probably about 25 to 30% of that number, which while it counts in that performance metric, right? It doesn't necessarily mean that they are truly engaged, right? So we don't know what those needs are. And so there's still work to do there. But for the purposes of metric reporting and attainment, we are over 28,000, which is just incredible, really, in terms of reach. We have a lot of work to do, right? We still have approximately 76,000 members or so that we need to screen. So when we talk about waiver renewal and the need for more time and the ability to continue this work, I don't think that we could understate right how important that is. Over 3,000 members with care management services, including enhanced care management and navigation delivered. There are 2,500 members with enhanced housing services that have been delivered. About 1,400 members with enhanced nutrition services. And then, our members with non-medical transportation, I just want to give Katie Blaine a huge call out here, because that number, when you look at it here, looks so low as compared. And it is so involved in terms of what it takes, right, to get those transportation services delivered. And it's really, really incredible, some of the progress that we've made in that area. So huge, huge shout out in that domain as well. And we can look at how those services or members receiving those services have grown in some of those upcoming slides. So we can go to the next slide, Amira. All right, so this is just sharing, thank you, our screening numbers. I mentioned that those members that decline consent. So traditionally, our dashboards or the data that we have don't reflect those members because they don't have consent, and those screenings are happening off platform largely. Those are numbers that go directly to the Medicaid data warehouse at the state level. And so we actually have relied on them to provide that information back to us to kind of get to that total number. We haven't had an update on that in a while, but our data teams have been working very closely to get that data back into our system in terms of the total count, so we can have a little bit better of an idea without relying on the state what that full number looks like. But right now, we still believe it's somewhere probably around 10 to 12,000 members who have declined screening or consent at this point. But you can see on this slide here, we continue obviously to grow, both in members screened and with members with a completed eligibility assessment. So our priority metrics 1 and 2, if you will. We also have a pretty consistent number of members that have at least one unmet need on each screening. So it hovers right around 83%. That ratio is different if they are external screenings versus through our community-based partners and Unite Us, and there's a lot behind that, but that it stayed pretty consistent. As you can see, we're at about 27% of our attainment right now. And that goal, again, has moved for this quarter. So we've officially entered year 3 of performance, quarter 1. And so you can see by October 31st, our goal is now 41%. That leaves a gap to goal for us of about 14,000 members or so, if you will. And there are a lot of strategies and action plans happening behind the scenes in terms of, continually ramping that up. But if you'll remember, it was 25 in March to 38 to now 41. I will pause there for any questions. Okay, we can go to the next slide. So again, this just shows a little bit of a different view. It's a little bit busy and as you're kind of digesting some of the data, when we send the slides out afterwards, I think we've shared this a lot, but the numbers may vary from slide to slide at times, just because the time frame is sometimes different in terms of how we receive that data. But for all intents and purposes, this is really showing the mode of screening. And so in that first column, you can see, member self-screenings, which would be members that are going to our website. Next are the members screened off platform, or so those would be through a health system that is integrated through the EHR. It could also be like in the instance of that huge spike around the March timeframe, the New York State Health Homes contributed a large number of screenings to us off platform or outside Unite Us, right? So they come to us for action. And then members screened in Unite Us is as reflected next. One thing that I would note here that you can see in the data is that our self-screens have pretty significantly increased, particularly in the last few months. There's a few reasons for that. One, our managed care organizations are actively working with their care managers to do more of a warm handoff while they are sitting with a member, because they do have a relationship. We don't have managed care organizations that are doing the actual screening at this point, meaning, administering it as they're going through, but they're doing more of a warm handoff. Huge shout out to Melissa Gussman, and she's our one woman show in terms of marketing, and she makes so much magic happen. But if you haven't seen Care Compass and the social care network concept, and all of that information is everywhere. It's on YouTube, it's on every single TV subscription you could possibly get. It's on all the socials. We've got it on billboards. We've got it in public transit now, right? So a lot of work being done there, and the call to action there, a lot of the time can be, just that self-screening website. We did have a member mailing that went out. I know a lot of our community-based organizations said, yes, please include us, on that outreach list so you could be contacted. So that's just another way. The other thing I would note here, we are aware and we know that the self-screening tool on our website, it's not the best. If you ask me, I'm pretty honest about it. I really don't like it. It's not our fault. It's a Unite Us plugin. We don't have much say in terms of like the size of the text, and some of it is written in first person and third person and all of those things that don't make it feel very accessible. Additionally, there's a notice of privacy practices that we have to share in advance of that. And so we know we have a pretty high abandonment rate, and we're working on some strategies for that. But New York State is actually getting ready to deploy a statewide screening. And so this will be a New York led website and tool. We don't have that information yet. Originally slated for August 1st, now August 24th. But basically, it's really a no wrong door pathway for a member to be able to take a self-screening, right? And so they would really, it's not like ours will go away, but this will be a different place where we can direct members, and then wherever they are in the state, they'll just get routed to the appropriate social care network region. So more to come on that, but that is something that is coming along. Jaden, let me see, you have a question. Yes. So, thank you, Desiree is already on it. Yes, so as Desiree is saying, they're typically contributed by clinical providers that would be using an electronic health record. And there's a lot of data considerations from an interoperability perspective that come into play when we're more or less turning those channels on, if you will. And there's many stakeholders involved. So like our regional qualified entity, Healthy Connections, is involved in that. There's a statewide infrastructure that gets involved in that, and just trying to keep it kind of simple, but it's not, unfortunately, it's not plug and play, right? it's a process to get things turned on and working to a point where the data is flowing. So when it's operating like it should be, within our United system, like within a day or so. And so what you see from some of that is they've figured out, like, the channels are open now, right? And so we might get a backlog of screenings. We might have, just a bunch of screenings coming in because a new provider has started. That's what happened. Like, if you look at that September spike there. And then in March, and some of it in April too, a lot of that was a New York State Health Home, which there were a couple thousand of those that came in, and not ideal, right? It's old data to some extent. So when those channels get turned on, like in the case of New York State Health Homes, we had screenings from January 25, June of 25, right? And so, but that's the reason for those spikes. Yeah. Other questions on this slide? Okay, we can go to the next slide. All right, so this is looking at Medicaid members screened per county. I'm planning some updates here, but what I want to call out is just kind of how we're looking in terms of screening attainment. And bear with me because I have written notes instead of typed notes today. But we really see a lot of screenings in Broome and Tioga as a percentage of total Medicaid members, right? And so when we look at Broome, it's a little over 19%, and then Tioga, about a little over 20%. A lot of that is being driven by the off-platform screenings that Guthrie is submitting, for those particular, because of the overlap with those counties. Guthrie actually comprises about 25 to 30% of our total screening volume. And again, some of those are declines, but it is really driving the volume in those counties. Next, we see Tompkins County, so 18.5% respectively. We did recently have Cayuga Medical Center and Cayuga Medical Associates come on board with off-platform screenings. Again, still working through some of the data nuances of that, but that is certainly contributing, although for all of our counties, there's a lot of activity, right? They're happening within our community-based organizations on a one-to-one basis as well. The state actually shared, I'll take a note to share out the presentation that the United Hospital Fund gave at the Medicaid conference, and Amir Basiri, who's the Medicaid director, had some nice slides that kind of showed how our region looks in terms of screening volume, like across in comparison with the state. So I'll share that as well. But overall, we're doing a great job. We just had a technical assistance call with the state this morning, and we are still in one of the top as one of the top lead entities in terms of screening percentage attainment for that metric. So really, really great job. I just can't say that enough. But when you look at this slide, my question to you is, what is helpful about this slide, as a provider in our network and whatever respective role that you're in, and or what is not here that might be helpful for us to include in an upcoming slide? And don't give me crickets again, because I'll start calling on people. Hey, Nicole, what would be helpful for you about this slide? Or what is helpful?
I'm the only Nicole on this call?
Yeah.
I think. Okay. All right. Just making sure. Vic spoke in the chat. and said it would be helpful to see the breakdown of unmet needs identified in the screenings.
Yeah.
And then it
So
might
more-
also help to know the time frame of these screenings. So this here says data through 8/16/26.
Right. So looking a little bit more, it sounds like, Ally, on a trends type of basis. So from month to month. Yeah. Okay.
Just because then it's not too big or too small.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
And I
then
think
Vic,
it can,
oh, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead, Nicole. I'm sorry.
oh, was that both of us? I was just going to say, I think it would also support organizations with their screening strategy and determining the population that is remaining of Medicaid members
Yep.
in each county. As Sarah just questioned, is there a way to highlight where screenings are coming from, best points of contact in the community?
Meaning like an actual breakdown of screenings by provider. Sarah, sorry. Or just kind of geographically, where is success happening? Okay. Yes, there is.
Like, where is success happening? So where are we seeing a high screening volume, and then where do we still need to connect in the county? Where are the members? So how do we meet them where they're at?
And I wonder
Yes.
if there is a visual, and I am not a visual person, so I can't, but it would be lovely to have one image on this slide that represents both of the columns, screened and population. Because the one is just a duplicate of, it's a different way to see. So now there's two things to look at, and you feel like you're seeing two different things, but they're really the same thing shown differently. But is there a way to show screened versus Medicaid population of that area?
Yeah,
Just because then it's one image.
sure. Yeah, thank
Jaden's
you, Ally.
also suggesting maybe breaking them up between on and off platform per county.
Yeah, I can definitely do that.
Megan also spoke to location, like where are we seeing them in the counties and where should we focus outreach?
Yeah, perfect. In fact, there's likely a way to do it by enhanced population as well. So I'll have to bring some new ideas. Amira, are you able to, does our recording capture all the comments in the chat?
I believe it does, but I'm gonna refer to Emily, that the chat will be logged, right? Because we're recording. Yeah, the chat will be logged.
Just checking, so I don't want to miss anything there. So thank you. And then Vic, for your comment, I think that's the only one I maybe didn't address or we didn't address so far. Amira, if you can go to the next slide, I think that's what the next slide is. Yep. So Vic, to your point here, so this is actually looking at screening results. When you look at the social support, that would be your navigation or enhanced care management. And then you can see, food, housing, transportation, and so on. Obviously, there are some of the services captured in the screening that would apply more from a level 1 perspective versus a level 2, right, which are the enhanced services that we can provide through the SCN. The one thing as I was looking at this slide again this morning, I was thinking is that it may be interesting to look at this different. So like, for example, as you look at like June to July, for instance, you see it's 69 to 65%, but it's not necessarily saying that there's a trend there, right? Because it's really just a snapshot of the screenings that happened in that month. And so there's just naturally going to be some variance. So I was thinking maybe even looking at that cumulatively, and then we could note, a little bit more of an average, and then maybe the last 3 months to see if there's any outliers or something like that. But Again, wanted to open it up to the group for thoughts on what's helpful or what would be helpful in future iterations. Okay. I'm gonna start with maybe trying to do a little bit of a trend. So there are a couple ways we can use this data. So for instance, when we look at March, you know, we had a huge, I would call it a spike, right? Month over month in interpersonal safety. And so we reached out to Emily from a training perspective and said, what kind of trainings or different resources, right, can we offer from an interpersonal safety perspective to our navigators in our network, you know, in response to that, to be able to help. So just that type of stuff. But okay, Megan. Yeah, Jaden, to answer your question, I think so, right? So that social support or that the particular support with different needs that are reflected because of the unmet needs here, I think do tie that in pretty closely. I would have to phone a friend in terms of getting farther into the logic. I don't know if I have Danielle or a Monica could speak to that in more detail in terms of Jaden's question.
Yeah, you're correct with that one. It's because it's going to be tied like to the enhanced care manager or the navigation. It's going to be tied to that. So you're going to see that's a huge increase like in the number. And that's why it looks like it's the highest need. But for the most part, like we've all seen, it will be the food and the housing, which are actually the service provisions that are the highest and we're being members being served with.
Thank you. Yeah, does that help, Jaden? Okay. And I would be remiss not to call out my mistake in saying Monica and not Nate. Not that Monica couldn't answer the question, but that's just my brain on this week. So no shade, Nate, no shade. All right, we can go to the next slide.
I just one thing. I'm focused on going back as well to like those wraparound services and those level 1 services and continuing to support the person as a whole for sustainability outside of the waiver. So that social support really isn't found in our enhanced services. So as that navigator, really ensuring that you are referring people to community resources to support that sustainability long term and supporting the whole person. So for me, when I look at it, I still am interested in also like of those 65% that have unidentified social support, how many referrals have been made? How many can we actually capture in the platform? Because we know not all level 1 services are within the platform, but what does that look like for people?
Yeah, and such a great tie into our performance metrics, right? So
yeah.
All right, so again, this is a traditional way of looking at our data. One thought that we had in kind of looking at this, as you'll see, is that there's really not a lot of data, if any, for some of these enhanced care management services, right? So I think it's not that they're not important, right? But in terms of calling things out that are really more relevant, I guess, as driven by volume, we'll probably make some updates to that. But when we're looking at enhanced care management services, I was looking at the data that we shared with you the last time that we met. Well, not the last time that we met, the last time that we brought this data to you. That's how I will say it. You know, we're up about 150% in terms of members receiving navigation and enhanced care management services. And I can tell you, partially, right, because of the screening volume that continues, but there are a lot of very intentional efforts, and many of you have heard from me personally to say, we have this member screened, and can you please, accept any more on your caseload, or do you have a little bit more room to connect this member? Our internal navigators have been very focused on closing that gap. And a lot of other efforts, right? I know that several of you that have gotten a list from me, I think this member might have gotten lost between screening and eligibility assessment. Can you please close this out, right? So there's a lot going into that, but I think at the end of the day, the result that we are trying to create, and that it's working, is that these members are being connected, and so to the next point in the process. So we've got to get them for that EA, but then to have that case opened for enhanced care management or navigation, and to get them referred. And we're going to talk more and more about that and more in detail as it relates directly to those performance metrics, but really just helping to support the member through the life cycle, and then all of the capacity building pieces of that, obviously, that come into play. So really just wanted to acknowledge the tremendous growth seen on this slide. But again, what is helpful or would be helpful in presenting this data to you when we meet again next month? Yeah, Sarah, definitely. And actually, that's a great time for me to plug that there will be a survey coming out asking you just about that. Like, how many navigators do you have active in your organization? What level FTE are they? What does their caseload look like? All of those things are forthcoming. And so we know what we know, because we know what our capacity building awards and things like that might say. But there's a lot of pieces even from those that are missing. However, we have a lot of wonderful resources in our network that maybe are doing social care navigation as, just kind of a 0.2 FTE. And so it's really time to come back to that and just do a total survey. And I think as an output from that, we can certainly share that and start to get that regularly on the radar. Yeah, highlighting areas that have changed. Yeah, and just pulling out. Absolutely. I think about the stoplight methodology, Allie. Right? Yeah, just having some colors and things. Okay.
Well, because we see the same, we look at them all, we look at every number, we take it very certain, but it's very similar to things that we see, and we might miss things. I might miss things.
100%. And one of the reasons, right? We just need a refresh for sure. Yeah, Meredith, areas for opportunity. Absolutely. And tied to our performance metrics. I think getting all of those together would be great. We have a lot of kind of those action plans happening behind the scenes, but really sharing those out and tying those to this data would probably be really helpful. Oh, you're so chatty in the chat. Okay, perfect.
I think Megan's comment speaks to the network survey as well.
Yeah. And we will have information for you on that soon. Jaden, is there a focus to further specify the types of support offered in ECM? Meaning, if you're doing all of this work with a member, is it billable, or are you billing at a level that you could be for the work that you're doing? Is that kind of what you're saying, or am I not capturing that? Yeah. Do you want to tell me more about it?
I think if I understand correctly, Nate might be able to speak to this because he's in process of developing a resource for this.
Nate, you're on.
Yeah, I think for the most part, as a navigator, there's a couple of things where we might not be aware of everything we can bill for, like all the activities that might be billable. You know, if it's a fee for service member, or if it's a level 2 member. And so I'm going to try to create a list of all the activities for either case. And it should follow a checklist as well. That might be easier for some navigators to just visually see, and point out those areas where maybe you're just missing out on a little bit of area where you could be documenting for it, but you're just not aware of it yet. But that's what's currently in development.
Yeah, thanks, Megan. I think definitely, you know, from an outcomes perspective, we're not quite there yet. I mean, there are definitely follow-ups. Maybe I'm taking it a step too far in my brain, but I think about outcomes, right? And tying things back to outcomes, and that is definitely something that's slated from a clinical outcome perspective. That's data we really need to pull in from some of our other collaborators, if you will, like our managed care organizations and or United Hospital Fund from a hero perspective. But I'm loving all of these suggestions.
And Jaden, to go with you from the chat, we have tried to include more options, went back and forth, try to advocate with the state to include additional options so we can expand that. But what we can do while Nate is working, like through the checklist, just what can be built under that. So I wish we could put those in or have the opportunity or we were able to be the ones to add those things into the matters, but we have tried to advocate with the state to include more to expand it so it's easier for so navigators to know what they're billing for and it could be really accessible. But we could include some of those things in the checklist and expand and pull those things out to get a better understanding.
Perfect. Thank you for all the feedback on that. I think we can move to the next slide. Just in the interest of time, I've got a couple, just a couple more in terms of domains that we can share, and then we can, I know I wanted to open it up to the team for a minute just on any other updates that we wanted to provide. So from a housing perspective, I think this volume continues to grow. Particular areas that I noticed, you know, from a rent and temporary housing perspective, up 10%. Again, these are members currently receiving HRSN services, right? And so we're going to start to deliver data a little bit more in terms of services rendered, and you're going to see that in some of the data slides that we'll send you. And there is a distinct difference. So when we're thinking about members currently receiving services, that again is not always going to be you know, a trend that really informs like overall progress for the network, right? Although we have seen that pretty much just on a steady increase. You know, overall, you know, housing just continues to be up. I mean, 15, 20%. So Nicole, I don't know if there's anything, or Desiree, I don't know if there's anything you wanted to add to that particular slide in terms of trends or anything we want to call out.
No, I think it's self-explanatory as far as like we know what our capacity is for housing services at this time. We are actively working on onboarding and reaching out to build upon our network so that we can increase the services for the members that we serve.
Yeah, thanks, Desiree. Okay, and so I'm going to take some of the similar some of the feedback that we shared for the other slides, you know, for care management, and apply them to the methodology for these slides as well. And we can bring some of those to our upcoming meeting. But certainly please put any ideas in the chat. But I'm going to move on to nutrition quick, just in the interest of time. So again, shows a snapshot in time in terms of members currently receiving services. We do have members, of course, that will have gone through that benefit period, right? And they will fall off. But one thing I wanted to note that for this in particular, as we looked back to the slides that we shared in April, food boxes, are just up again about 150% in terms of members receiving services. So when I looked at the number for food boxes back in April, it was 695. And here we are at 1353, right? So just a huge increase. I think there are a few contributors to that, in terms of, having the voucher versus the food box option. But overall nutrition is looking at about an 8.4% increase in terms of members receiving services in the last few months. So again, I'll pause there for our team to chime in on anything they want to highlight. But that's the nutrition data for this month.
So
Yeah,
that increase, just from this like, that's a big increase. It feels
Yeah.
like more than the folks in this group need to know that need is big, because food is, it's important. So, it feels like that needs to be amplified beyond us, because that's huge.
Yeah, Allie. And Maria, were you gonna?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I saw Grace put in the chat that they're having a hard time finding places to refer for vouchers. And I think that's probably why there was such an increase in boxes, is that some of our voucher providers are at capacity and have stopped accepting referrals at this time. So that is one consideration for sure. And we're working on getting some new providers, but I know it's a challenge right now.
Yeah, I could definitely confirm that we are pushing a lot of people towards boxes who might prefer vouchers, but vouchers just aren't available at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah, and to your point, Allie, in terms of amplifying, I think, historically we were looking at like a network capacity matrix, I guess I would call it, right? Where we showed, how many providers do we have contracted in each of the respective counties. Internally, we look at that a little bit differently. So there's a big difference, right, between the number of providers contracted versus the number of providers who might be active. And so I think it's kind of going back to that, and then maybe more proactively sharing what is happening behind the scenes, right, which is continuous engagement in onboarding new providers, and helping build capacity with other providers. So that's a great takeaway as well. All right, and we go to the final slide here, and then I'll open it up to the team. So again, when we look at the numbers of members receiving services comparatively, it's lower than some of our other domains. It is not reflective of the level of effort from both a network performance specialist standpoint or a network standpoint, right? We're all having these conversations. We're trying to link providers or members to transportation services and make that possible wherever we can. But again, when we look at the number of members receiving services now versus a few months ago, this number has doubled. So huge level of effort has gone into this, really trying to get that those services connected. And just kind of as a reminder, don't forget about that transportation service, as you're linking members where they need to be, that transportation can be really, really helpful in getting them where they need to go. And Katie's done a fantastic job of really pulling out the ways in which that transportation can be used. So certainly if you have any questions, please reach out to us. And Katie, I don't know if there's anything you wanted to add to that, not to put you on the spot, but I'll open it up for a sec.
Yeah, I wanted to say, I think some of the reason for the increase is we have more transportation service providers. We've had a number of new providers come online, even just recently, and we're looking to and have had conversations with other agencies to contract with, and just working with our current providers to expand capacity. I did just want to give a big announcement, and this will be going out in the weekly communication tomorrow, but Lauren mentioned that we had a TA call earlier today, and the state has said that they will allow transportation to soup kitchens, community meals, and food pantries, which is huge. I will have some questions going out to them, just trying to kind of expand the grocery store beyond just food prescription vouchers. Anyone that has made a referral for transportation, or any of the service providers, know that transportation to the grocery store and to food pantries in particular is the number one transportation need. So we're really just trying to be creative and expand that as much as possible, along with, adding other destinations, as Lauren mentioned. So, so some good news for today.
Thanks so much, Katie. All right, so thank you so much for all of the suggestions and the active conversation. Like I said, I think our team feels like it's time for a good refresh. We love your feedback and making those changes. And so certainly if there's anything that comes up, please do share that with one of us after this meeting, and we'll make sure to incorporate it in those next slides, or the design of those rather. I think we can I'll open it up to the team to just see if there's any other additional announcements or things that we wanted to note before we go to the survey. I don't want to forget the survey.
Maria, did you want to provide an update on nutrition?
Yeah, it might open a can of worms, but I'm gonna read my 2 updates. Okay, so last week, version 9 of the operations manual came out, which will be included in the weekly communication this week. But it did include several significant changes to the provision of nutrition services. So I just wanted to mention 2 of them here today. I am planning on sending out some more specific summaries of this various updates in addition to these, but did just want to call these out. And I'm sorry that I have a little bit of a sore throat. But okay, so the first change relates to the documentation requirements for services requiring the RDN, CDN oversight. So that includes nutrition counseling and education, medically tailored meals, clinically appropriate meals, and the food prescription boxes and vouchers. So the manual now states that the initial member intake and assessment and ongoing case notes must be uploaded to the member's profile in Unite Us. And I just wanted to mention, this has always been a required component of those service workflows, but the updated manual now does explicitly require that providers upload this documentation for each of those services. So that's the first kind of big change. And then the second is related to the household referrals. So the manual now states that for household members of the primary eligible members, so that includes those high-risk children and pregnant and postpartum individuals, that there must be supporting documentation on file to verify their relationship to the eligible member. So social care navigators are now going to be required to work with the member to collect documentation to prove that relationship. So that's a pretty big change for household referrals. And that's set to go into effect September 1st. So any cases that are open currently for households, this guidance is not going to impact those cases. Providers should keep providing services to those members as long as they're eligible under those household referrals that are open. But moving forward, that documentation will be required. And in order to make sure that we are incorporating these workflows properly and making sure that referrals are appropriate, we are going to pause household referrals September 1st. So just wanted to make everyone aware of that service providers should stop offering household referrals September 1st, and navigators should stop making those referrals until we can figure this out and make sure that it's going to work efficiently and effectively. And there will be more information in the weekly communication this week so that you can review it as well. But I did just want to mention that here. Yeah, Christina.
And also the household, we cannot do households for like MTMs and CAMs. So if the enhanced member is one of those, the household members would have to be under something else, but we've always billed under one case. So that's going to be interesting to try to figure out how to do as well.
Yeah, and that's really the largest reason why we're going to pause referrals, because we don't have that system in place yet to accept multiple referrals for multiple services for households. So yeah, more to come for sure on that.
I would like to give 2 plugs real quick. One is just to recognize, I know Lauren briefly spoke to this previous, and the numbers speak for themselves on how we continue to ramp up services and serving members in the region. But for this last quarter, so that was May through July of 2026, specific to like enhanced HRSN services, there were about 8,600 cases open that served about 3,000 members. And so just recognizing the network and the providers and the navigators that are making the referrals and the service providers who are accepting those referrals, because in addition to that, there was only like a 1.4% rejection rate on those cases that were submitted. So that's huge. And we recognize capacity is a need within the network. And we continue to work through that and appreciate your ideas surrounding that. So we continue to work through that process, but really wanted to give the network a big kudos because you are continuing, to meet the needs, whether it's through the network and accepting referrals, or if our teams are reaching out to you directly to ask you to pick up additional cases. You've always rose to the occasion, so that is appreciated. One reminder that of those cases currently, we have about 6,800 of them where services have been delivered, and only about 3,000 of those are closed. So just a reminder to please close cases once your services have been delivered and you've invoiced for them. You don't even have to wait till invoicing, but that is a whole separate conversation. But just wanted everybody to be aware, and just as a reminder to please close your cases when you're able. That's all I have.
Alex, did you have a question about nutrition?
Yes, I did. Thank you. So I just wanted to confirm about the pausing of the household referrals. That is just accepting new ones, then the ones that we currently have are fine to continue invoicing for.
Yeah, you can continue with the open cases. It will just be moving forward.
Okay, so then start it, even though you said September 1st, should we just not accept household referrals now?
So I was going to say, I do have a backlog of pre-authorizations right now, and there are some household referrals in there, and the plan is to accept them through September 1st, and then September 1st, we'll pause.
Okay, perfect. I just wanted to clarify and double check, so thank you.
Yep.
Danielle, are you still on? Sarah wanted to know if anybody had experiencing members' insurance looking odd, showing recently enrolled in managed care, but the member stating their insurance hasn't changed. So I wasn't sure if you were aware.
I have had a couple of reach out with that same question, Sarah. If it's anyone specific, please send them to me. That will require like a deeper investigation, but I have been seeing that lately. So if you have the members, send them to me and I'll do like a further investigation.
Okay. I think that's it, everyone. Emily did drop a survey link in the chat. Give us your feedback on today's meeting. This is our logo page. If you don't see your logo on there and you want it on there, reach out to me. And that's it. Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.